just carried out what may be remembered as one of the most ruthless institutional power moves in modern royal history. And according to the claims surrounding the story, Queen Camilla did not see the full force of it coming until the moment her sister's front door was knocked by a high court enforcement team at exactly 9:12 in the morning. And yes, that sounds dramatic. But when you actually follow the sequence of events, this does not look like a family disagreement that spiraled out of control. It looks like a surgical operation, planned down to the minute, funded through independent channels, and designed to bypass every single person who might have warned the Queen Consort before the trap closed. Before we get into this, if you are new here on Crown Watch, hit subscribe so you do not miss the follow-ups on the story, because this one is not going away quickly. The constitutional questions alone could keep legal scholars talking for years, and the family dynamics are the kind of thing that usually stays buried in royal archives for decades before historians are allowed anywhere near it. But this time, the details broke almost in real time, and the picture they create is genuinely staggering. Here is where the story starts becoming strange. At the center of everything is a brooch, the Sapphire Jubilee Snowflake brooch. It was reportedly commissioned using 48 rare sapphires from Baffin Island and more than 400 polar diamonds to honor Queen Elizabeth II. We are talking about a piece valued at roughly £24.5 million, which immediately tells you this is not the kind of jewel someone simply places in a box and forgets about. This was a diplomatic gift from the Government of Canada in 2017, which means it belonged to the institution of the Crown, not to any individual person inside the family. That distinction is the entire foundation of the crisis. The Crown is not just a person. It is not just a family. It is a legal institution that holds property in trust for the nation. Crown property cannot be privately owned, privately transferred, quietly hidden, or treated like personal inheritance in someone's sitting room. During the massive administrative reorganization of 2022, when the palace was moving thousands of artifacts between royal residences as part of a huge infrastructure overhaul, something reportedly disappeared. Specifically, that brooch. And according to the classified files referred to as Windsor Box 11A, it did not simply vanish into storage. It was quietly removed from the archives entirely. No paperwork. No signed transfer. No official tracking. Just an empty velvet slot where a national treasure used to sit. And the person allegedly connected to that removal was Camilla's sister, a private civilian with no constitutional standing and no formal security clearance. She is said to have gained unauthorized access to secure vaults during the chaotic transition period and transported the brooch to her private residence. Let that sink in. A private citizen allegedly entered one of the most protected archival systems in the royal world, removed a diplomatic gift worth more than most people will ever see in several lifetimes, and carried it away without a single valid document being filed. That is not a small oversight. That is an institutional breakdown. And in almost any other context, it would trigger a criminal-style investigation immediately. Now this is where the first major question appears. The inventory systems of the Royal Collection Trust are not casual. These are not dusty boxes sitting in a forgotten cupboard with nobody checking them. These are carefully cross-referenced archives, built around protocols that have existed for generations. Every object is catalogued. Every item is photographed. Every condition report is recorded. Every movement is supposed to follow a chain of custody so strict it would make many government departments jealous. So the idea that a jewel of this value could leave without anyone noticing for months suggests one of two possibilities. Either the chaos of the 2022 transition created an operational gap so large that basic security collapsed, or someone inside the system deliberately looked away. Neither answer is comforting. If it was chaos, then the palace was running a multi-million-pound relocation project with security so weak that a civilian could effectively walk away with a national treasure. If it was deliberate, then someone with access, influence, or authority may have helped hide the removal. That would mean the problem was not limited to one person. It would mean the weakness reached into the administrative machinery itself. Either way, the Royal Collection Trust had a catastrophic failure on its hands. And eventually, someone was going to have to answer for it. But here is where the timeline becomes even more interesting. Camilla's camp allegedly believed they had gotten away with it. They thought the system was too distracted by the enormous relocation process to notice one missing item. For a while, that belief seemed to hold. The brooch reportedly sat in a private home, hidden from the official record, with no acknowledged location and no proper institutional explanation. The faction around Camilla felt safe. Perhaps they told themselves it was temporary. Perhaps they believed nobody would miss it. Perhaps they assumed the disorder of the transition would swallow the discrepancy forever. But what they did not know was that the quiet displacement of state property had already entered a different kind of process. Princess Anne, acting through her role with the Royal Collection Trust, had initiated an independent forensic audit of the entire state property collection. And when an audit of that scale begins, it does not simply count what is visible. It checks every item against historical records, original provenance papers, earlier inventories, transfer sheets, exhibition documents, and acquisition records. It goes back years, sometimes decades. Every loan is traced. Every movement is questioned. Every missing signature becomes suspicious. The discrepancy was always going to surface. It was only a matter of time. And Princess is not the person anyone wants conducting an audit of their mistakes. She is methodical. She is relentless. She has no patience for sloppiness, dishonesty, or convenient confusion when it comes to institutions she believes she is protecting. When the missing brooch finally surfaced as a discrepancy, Camilla reportedly panicked. And this is where the story takes a turn that is almost hard to believe, because the reaction was not to quietly return the brooch and contain the damage. The reaction was allegedly to double down and attempt to rewrite reality. King Charles has been recovering from medical treatments, which means there have been periods when he has been less accessible, less directly involved in daily operations, and more dependent on the people closest to him. According to these reports, Camilla entered his private quarters during one of those vulnerable periods and had documents prepared for a $12.5 million protective directive. The alleged purpose was to obtain the king's personal signature on paperwork that would protect her sister by reclassifying the brooch as a permanent personal gift rather than stolen or misappropriated state property. In simple terms, the claim is that Camilla tried to use the king's signature to retroactively sanitize something that otherwise looked like a civil crime. And she allegedly did this while he was recovering from treatment, in his private rooms, with documents prepared in advance. That is not a misunderstanding. That is not a family favor. That is a calculated attempt to use sovereign authority to override the legal status of state property. And it was allegedly attempted at a time when the sovereign himself may not have been fully positioned to scrutinize every detail of what he was being asked to sign. Think about the logic here. If the brooch had been legitimately transferred, why would anyone need a retroactive protective directive? If everything was clean from the beginning, there would be authorized paperwork. There would be a signed removal record. There would be a clear explanation for where the item was and why. The very need to create documents after the fact suggests the original action could not stand on its own. You do not create immunity paperwork for something that was already properly done. You do not try to build a legal shield around a fire after the smoke has already filled the room. The sequence only makes sense if someone realizes they have been caught and is scrambling to build a fortress around something that was never theirs to protect. But Camilla's greater miscalculation was not the paperwork. It was what she assumed would happen once the problem was discovered. She expected the traditional palace network to behave as it had behaved for generations. Quietly bury the discrepancy. Prioritize family harmony over accountability. Keep everything behind doors. Let lawyers have quiet conversations. Let the press office issue careful non-answers. Let the matter disappear into royal fog. That playbook has worked many times before. It has worked through affairs, financial improprieties, and personal scandals. The old idea was simple. Protect the family to protect the institution. Keep the public from seeing the gap between the idealized monarchy and the messy reality inside it. That was the bargain. But what Camilla allegedly failed to understand is that the monarchy being shaped by Prince William does not operate through that bargain anymore. That may be the single most consequential mistake of her time as queen consort. At exactly 8:43 in the morning, a phone call reportedly took place between Princess and Prince William. It lasted exactly 9 minutes. In those 9 minutes, the crisis shifted from a family issue into a corporate-style legal enforcement action. Princess reportedly rejected the protective directive outright. She made clear that national diplomatic gifts cannot be treated as private currency, that the sovereign holds these treasures in public trust for the nation, and that personal ownership is invalid within that constitutional framework. Then she assembled the evidence. The original inventory records. The historical provenance papers. The forensic audit trail. The catalog details. Everything. And she drove directly to Kensington Palace to deliver the files to William personally. Not electronically. Not through intermediaries. Not through palace channels. She physically carried the evidence herself, which tells you how seriously she viewed the chain of custody and how little trust she had in the normal palace communication system. She did not notify the king's office. She did not consult Camilla's legal advisors. She did not give the compromised channels a chance to slow the response. And when William reviewed the proof, he did not treat it as a delicate domestic problem. He treated it as an attack on the integrity of the state. His response was immediate. He ordered his personal legal team to coordinate directly with civil authorities and authorized an aggressive legal shutdown of the Queen Consort's extended family network. The language inside the internal communications was reportedly clear. This was not described as a family dispute requiring mediation. It was described as unauthorized appropriation of state assets requiring immediate legal remedy. That framing matters. Once a problem is defined as a legal violation instead of a family disagreement, the entire response changes. There is no compromise, no negotiation, no soft landing, only enforcement. This is the part where the speed of the escalation becomes remarkable. William did not go through standard palace bureaucracy. He activated the autonomous financial machinery of the Duchy of Cornwall, which operates outside the statutory control of the sovereign grant. Using those independent funds, he hired elite high court legal specialists directly. He removed the matter from emotional family politics and placed it into the world of corporate litigation. There was no family meeting, no attempt at mediation, no warning, no courtesy call. Only legal machinery, cold and efficient, funded by resources Camilla's camp could not touch or influence. Then William did something that may have consequences for decades. He created a new entity called the Royal Heritage Trust. Under his direct mandate, the remaining historical artifacts of Queen Elizabeth II, a collection valued at over £30 million, were transferred into this independent public trust. Because the trust is regulated by the Independent Charity Commission under the Charities Act of 2011, it is legally insulated from royal intervention. No reigning monarch can casually alter its terms. No queen consort can manipulate its assets. No extended family connection can unlock its vaults. The possessions are now permanently secured along the direct line of succession from William to Prince George. The legal design of this trust is fascinating because it seems built precisely to resist the kind of manipulation Camilla allegedly attempted. The trustees are independent. The purpose is defined. The assets are registered and monitored. Any attempt to alter the terms would require Charity Commission approval, which would trigger legal review and public scrutiny. In effect, it is a fortress around the physical legacy of Queen Elizabeth II. And Camilla has no key, no access, no standing to even knock on the door. The moment that trust was finalized on June 10, 2026, Camilla's $12.5 million protective directive reportedly collapsed. It had no legal strength before the Charity Commission. It gave no protection under civil law. It offered no immunity for her inner circle. Her sister was transformed instantly from a protected palace relative into an ordinary civilian defendant facing serious high court consequences. The paperwork allegedly prepared in the king's private quarters became useless. All that effort, all that positioning